Hi everyone, my name is Alexei, and today we're going to talk about new version of Rapise 6.3, and the major goal for this release, or the most important feature, is improved support for test frameworks, and we will talk about it in more details. First is a couple of words about me. My name is Alexei. I'm working on Rapise from its beginning. I'm working in software development for last 20 years, and 10 years are devoted to test automation. So this is the plan for today's webinar. We will try to be short. I will try to show you the most interesting things, and so you get an idea about what to expect from this new release. First, I'll tell about very few words about Rapise for those who maybe didn't hear about it. Then we will talk about SAP support, what is the status of SAP support and what's new with SAP support with Rapise. Next, I want to introduce new enterprise feature for executing tests in headless mode using NodeJS and containers. And finally, we will talk about features related to creating test frameworks. So first is few words about Rapise. Rapise is a general purpose UI functional testing tool and API testing tool. It supports desktop, web, and mobile targets. It has recording mode. It has manual scripting mode. It has a JavaScript as a scripting language for automated tests, as well as a codeless scripting using RVL, its own language. It integrates with a variety of different test management and continuous integration tools, but one of these integrations is enabled by default. It is integration with Spira, which is test management solution from Inflectra. And it was to mention that Rapise currently has best-of-class support in different MS Dynamics targets. Dynamics CRM, Dynamics 365, Dynamics for sales, Dynamics for operations, Dynamics AX, Dynamics nav. So there is all sorts of these technologies, and we have special support for them. And this support is being maintained and improved because new versions come up. We work on it. We improve Rapise, and we make it configure it to work with these new versions. And the major feature of Rapise, which is differentiator, it's focused on test set maintenance and test maintenance. So you spend most of the time not on writing the tests, but on running and fixing them during the lifetime of the application. So we think that these features and these processes must be supported at the most possible level, at the best level. So, and this is what we want and what we think we have in Rapise. So compared to Rapise 6.2, 6.3 has over 300 enhancements, and 100 of them is user level, and we have them listed. You may find them from here. Here is Rapise documentation with website, rapisedoc.inflectra.com. And here is the what's new section. And here is the brief list of user level changes. In addition to this changelog, you may find the highlights video that is complementary to what I'm going to explain today. It has some more in-depth demonstration of specific improvements. You may easily find it from YouTube if you search for Rapise 6.3 highlights, and it would be here. It's second after 6.2, but you may see here. So it will highlight some and explain some feature that I'm not going to explain today. And today I will do some complementary explanation of some other features that are better to be explained in the webinar mode. And you are welcome to ask any questions. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to go over them in the end of this webinar and answer or demonstrate anything you wish. Okay, so first topic is SAP ERP, the new feature that we have. So the state of the art of the SAP support in Rapise is if we have regular SAP GUI, which is a desktop client. So it's supported, the playback of the scripts for it are supported by Rapise out of the box. This SAP GUI, the SAP GUI has built-in recorder, and the scripts that are recorded may be easily applied to Rapise and executed right from Rapise. So this is the script created by recorder, and it interacts with this Rapise GUI application. And it is desktop support. The situation is a bit different with appearance of SAP UI5 and with overall tendency of SAP to move to SAP UI to web-based display technology and UI technologies. We see that there is growing demand on that, and we need to have it supported. So what we added in Rapise 6.3 is dedicated support for OpenUI, which is a technology behind SAP UI5, which is used by SAP UI. And I can even demonstrate that if you Google for OpenUI, you will easily find that SAP is publishing it as a public technology. It has publicly available showcase. And let me just briefly show you one example of what we mean by support of OpenUI5 in Rapise. So here is the showcase of SAP UI widgets, and one of the most widely used widget is a grid that's used to display data and to work with table data. So I'm just going to create a new test. Call it SAP UI. Use Chrome in this case. Use Rapise Visual Language. And let me just start recording with this table on the screen. Okay, I'm going to click on the product ID, change it. For example, select this row. So at this point, you may see that high-level recording is being performed. So when I click on the cell in the row 0 and in the column product ID, it's recorded as click cell, which is high level. So this kind of high level support is what we're trying to have and maintain in Rapise for the technologies that we do support. So if the test is recorded in this high level, it becomes easily modifiable. It becomes flexible, and it's enabled for further for creation of data-driven tests. So if I finish the recording, you may see all my high-level actions are captured. So, and there is only one object that is used in this interaction. Rather than separate cells, it recognized the grid products. And all further operations are with this grid. And all the changeable things are here in the right column. So it's easier to modify something. So if we want to change, to click on the row, for example, 4 instead of row 0, I can easily change it here. And now if I play this test, you see it clicks on the other row, then it modifies cell, and then it selects some cells. I changed the availability because it's already set, but overall, you see, I hope you see the idea. We do support SAP UI. You may create high-level tests to cover your business applications developed for SAP. Next topic, NodeJS. So it's the script in the test script in Rapise is actually something pure JavaScript. So what we did, we implemented JavaScript Node.js based engine, pure Node.js based engine. So any host that is able to run Node.js is able to run the test script created in Rapise. So in this example, I have a host. It's a Linux. It's not run console. Here it is. It's a Linux. I have pure Rapise test here. It's interacting with Selenium, with web browser, and doing some interactions and capturing screenshots on the way. So the test itself, for the convenience of demonstration, I make it available through the web interface. So here is the test itself. It's just uploaded to this Linux host. It has no reports at this point. It has some browser profiles and the test itself. So exactly the same test may be executed here using Rapise, here in the Windows using Rapise. And now I'm just going to execute this test here on the Linux. So for that, I have special module npm module called Rapise Node. And Rapise may create the file called node.json for each test. So this is the only prerequisite to make test enabled for execution under Node.js. Node.json. And now if I just hit enter, the test starts execution. This is a remote Linux. It's pure console. It doesn't have X windows, no user interface. So everything is performed in headless mode. You see execution is successful and all reports are generated. Now, if I go back to the reports folder, you see the screen flow here. And here is the execution that has just been performed. So this feature makes it easy to integrate Rapise tests into continuous integration solutions into Azure pipeline. The test may be easily run on any place where there is a Node.js. So, for example, under the container. It's easy to create a container with Node.js and install the module Rapise Node and then run any test there. So it makes it really flexible and powerful. It requires no additional installation except installing the module using npm, which is easily done using pipeline configuration. So this feature is already available for all our enterprise customers. So the only prerequisite to be able to use this feature is to have a site license, and then you may use it in your environment. Okay, and finally, the set of enhancements in Rapise that are devoted to test framework creation. Uh, this set of enhancement is inspired by our interaction with our customers. We see that you create more and more complex and advanced test frameworks. We see you making some solutions for your convenience. We learn from you, and we see some good practices applied that we didn't know before. So we simply learn these practices from you and try to make them a part of Rapise. So I can demonstrate some aspects of this new approach. It's not a new approach, it's just a refinement of existing approach. So first of all, it's now possible to store. We notice that some customers prefer to use Excel as a configuration, not just to feed data, but also to store some test set specific configuration. For example, initial URL, some login credentials, paths to data files. So we made it easy to have a config file and to store the config data in the way that you see currently on the screen. So this data is then used for playing the test. Next feature is Dropdowns. So we notice that it's common scenario that you have framework with functions that are intensively used throughout the test. It may be login, it may be some selection of target or selection of some menu items. Enterprise applications may have thousands of items in the menus, and if there is common navigation functions, it's convenient to have these navigation targets listed somewhere. So when you write a test or when you change a test, you don't have to type the name of target or relearn it. So, for example, in this test case, there is a test doing registration of patient, and before doing that, it's calling the login as a module, as a subtest, and it's passing various parameters like username, password for login, and the login location. This application has flexible number of location on where do you want to log in. So it's now easily possible, and this location is passed as a string to the login logic, and it's easy to define a list of possible values that are suggested by Rapise. So if you want to change the login logic, you may easily select different location. It's as easy as creation of file drop-down XLSX. It's like predefined name. And if you have such a file in your test framework, so what's happening? Webinar effect. It was working like a few minutes ago. Just a second. It should work. It was added using full path. Okay, I will fix it. Okay, so the file dropdowns contains the list of possible values for the parameter with name location. So since we have a parameter named location here in the script, location, it automatically shows this drop-down list. We may specify this drop-down just by parameter name or by object type and parameter name or by object name and parameter name. So it may be a wide definition or very narrow definition dedicated to only one method within one object. So this all is intended to make working with test scripts easier. So you don't need to like type here or copy from here from somewhere. You may just change it. Okay. Also, while implementing all this and while we enabled the passing of parameters between different test sets, the test cases, so you see we have a test framework. It has a number of test cases here. These are separate test cases, and these are like utility test cases or subroutines or functions. So these are not used as for testing. These are used by other test cases for the utility purposes. So creation, registration of patient simply calls this login to log into the application before doing its own actions. So it logs in and then it performs some own operations. So while enabling all these things, and we were worrying about keeping existing functionality and which is designed for maintainability. So for example, you may still go to any sheet or any row of any sheet within our test framework, like somewhere here. We have like the loop here. And what we may do, we may just select some place here and just play this piece, not the whole script, not just subtest, but only a couple of rows. This logic is producing the GUID. So and you see it's available in the report. You see that this logic is inside a loop, and we executed something inside the loop just once. We may select the whole loop and play it in the same way. And now it will play the whole loop and this loop in the subtest. And this subtest is a part of the framework, but we are executing one piece. Again, the purpose of this is to improve maintainability. So if you see your script is not stable at some point and something is not working as you want, you may find proper place and you may work on it time after time. Rapise still can keep connection to the same browser instance. So browser may stay on the same place. It may retype something into one field without restarting browser, without navigating from the beginning. So it makes it possible to really save time when you are working on fixing your scripts. And together with other features, as we have in Rapise, like object relearn, like web spy in the maintenance mode that we currently have, it's all together is designed to save your time on script maintenance. Okay, so this was at the end of brief overview of features I wanted to demonstrate today as a part of highlights. Again, you may find even more features and more detailed explanation here on the YouTube, and also like the full list of user visible features here in the what's new section in Rapise doc website. And it's now time for telling you thank you for visiting. I hope this information were useful for you. Let me see if we have any questions. So far, there is no questions. So if you have any, please feel free to ask. Meanwhile, I'll do some announcements. So we have just planned double webinar session, double webinar series that will go in parallel. One is called UI Automation 101, and the second is testing MS Dynamics. In the UI Automation 101, and first webinar from this series will happen next week, 1 week from now, on the February 19. We will talk about UI automation basics. We will check different types of controls. One webinar is about menus, speakers, bars. One webinar about tables. One webinar about sliders. So there are different things that are worth to be considered separately and in more in-depth manner. And we will talk about them in the UI Automation 101 series. And another webinar series is testing MS Dynamics. So we will go over, Denis Markovtsev, my colleague, will go over different flavors of Microsoft Dynamics. Microsoft Dynamics 365 for sales and for operations, and Dynamics AX and Dynamics NAV. And there will be a webinar for each of these, a separate webinar for each of these flavors. So to talk about them in more details and demonstrate you the existing support in Rapise. Okay, so I'm done with announcement, and let me check. I have a question, and Denis, do you want to read the question? I see there are some.
We do have one question. Could you demo Rapise running API test? Not
Okay.
sure if it fits this webinar.
It's a good question, so it's worth to answer because it's easy. So I can demo you Rapise running API test, and you may also do it for yourself. So Rapise is shipped with a number of predefined tests to demonstrate its capabilities. They are available from the start page, and here in the bottom, you see a couple of them. One is Web Services REST. This is a test using REST API. So I may just hit play to execute it. It's headless, so there is nothing to demonstrate but the report. So here it is. So here is the test, and here is the report. And in a similar manner, you may see the test for SOAP API. I'm not going to execute it, but it from the bird eye view we're doing right now, it looks really similar to REST API test, and execution is also really similar. It will play something and then show the report. And you may you have these tests in your Rapise instance, so you may just open them and investigate. We also have YouTube videos dedicated to creation of these test cases, so you may learn how they were done from the beginning. Okay, do we have any more questions?
Nope, no questions so far.
Okay, guys, thank you for visiting. I wanted to make this webinar short, and I hope if you find something interesting, you will access other resources I pointed in the beginning. It's YouTube video on 6.3 and what's new section on the documentation. And you're welcome to, if you didn't do it so far, you're welcome to get Rapise 6.3 and try it yourself. It's always the best way to learn something. Thanks everyone for joining. Thank you for considering Rapise. And stay with us. I hope we will see you in the coming webinar series soon. Bye-bye.